In this video, I'm going to walk you through the supplements brand marketing workbook that I created for you tab by tab. I'm going to show you what to fill in, where to find that data, and then I'll show you what the workbook is going to calculate for you. If you haven't downloaded it yet, the link to get the workbook is in the description. It is 100% free. So go ahead and grab it now, and then let's get into it. When you open the workbook, you're going to land on the Start Here tab. You need to read this before you go anywhere else. It's going to tell you the logic behind the workbook. This is all built around the outcomes that you want for your business. It's not a percentage of your revenue. So you're going to start with where the business needs to go and where the budget is going to essentially derive from those inputs. And that inversion is the whole point of what we're doing here. So make sure you've watched my other videos about this workbook before you get into it so that you know what I mean. It also tells you the order to work through the different tabs. Don't skip ahead here, okay? Each tab is going to feed the next, at least to some degree. The channel budget planner here in tab 3 is only useful if you've set your growth goals already from tab 2. The new customer math in tab 4 only makes sense in the context of the targets that you've already set. One more thing on this page is the orange cells that you'll see throughout the document are your inputs. That's what you're going to type in. The gray cells calculate automatically for you, so don't type into the gray cells because the formulas are already in there. Okay, so starting with the brand snapshot tab here, we're going to input our numbers, and starting under the section revenue and order basics, I'm going to pull in numbers for my Shopify here. So under the annual e-commerce revenue, okay, I'm auto calculating COGS in my case, but you can add your own unique number. The total orders, average order value, the number of unique customers over the last 12 months. I'm going to fill this one in first because I have my returning customer rate here and my new customers. The business's gross margin, and our total ad spend over the last 12 months can be an estimate. Okay, once you've entered those inputs, the calculated baseline metrics is going to populate automatically for you, as you can see here. It's going to show you the percentage of new versus returning customers, which we already looked at. It's going to also show you your blended cost to acquire a new customer. So that's your total spend, your advertising spend, divided by your new customers. It's also going to show you your blended return on ad spend, or blended ROAS here, and your revenue per customer. So spend a minute looking at these numbers before you move on. Your blended cost per acquisition is your kind of honest version of your true acquisition cost, and not just from what your platform reports. This is your real numbers, but what you actually spent to acquire new customers across all channels combined, okay? So for most supplements brands, this number is higher than what you expected, which is normal because you just have a higher cost in your category, but this is the number that you need to know. Now we're moving into the subscription and retention section of the same page. I'm just a little bit farther down. And I've got loaded up for you here the Recharge app, which is what I'll just refer to grab these numbers today. So we're going to input the numbers starting with the total subscribers here. And then we're going to look at the monthly revenue. I'll add the attach rate later. You're probably going to put in your own number here. If you're not sure how to calculate your passive and active churn rate, go to your Recharge app, and on the customer churn tab, you'll see the total churn rate here. We can also see that passive is 3 out of the 53. So I'm going to ballpark that at about 6%. So if I've got 11.7 total churn rate, this one's 6% of that amount. Now my active churn is going to be my total churn minus the passive churn rate. Okay, the last section on this page here is your product mix. So you're going to enter your top 6 SKUs by sales value, I would recommend. as well as their monthly revenue and whether they're available as a prescription or not. And the percentage of revenue column is going to calculate automatically for you. So it's going to give you a snapshot of where your revenue is actually concentrated and which products are subscription eligible. It matters for the gross margin conversation. If your highest revenue SKU has a lower margin than your subscription products, your blended margin needs to reflect that. So in tab 1 is complete. I'm not going to fill this one in. You've got your baseline to start from, and everything in the workbook here builds from where we're at now. Okay, tab 2 here is where the goals first logic gets started for you. This is the most important tab in the workbook. If you do this one properly, every downstream decision from here gets easier. So the first section is the annual revenue targets. There's a few inputs you're going to do here, all of the orange cells, and then these are the ones that are going to anchor your entire budget from here. So first we're going to put in our revenue target for the year. This is the target that your business needs to hit. It's going to ground your business in what's actually executable and what new customer volume, repeat purchase behavior, and subscription growth would actually need to happen in order to reach it. If you can't answer that question, the number is aspirational and not budgetable. Okay, so now we'll move on to the target gross margin, whatever you think is feasible for your business for the coming year. You're also going to add your target marketing spend as a percentage of your revenue, your target new customers. Now use what was on the previous tab as a baseline to decide what this number is going to be for you as your goal for the coming year. You're going to want to increase that by a certain percentage in order to hit your revenue target goal. Your average order value, again, using the current figures that you've got from your brand snapshot as the baseline. Maybe you're looking to increase that number a little bit for the coming year. And then we're going to go with the target subscription attach rate. Again, based on what we put in from the previous tab, we might implement some changes to improve on the numbers that we had from last year. So here's what we are going to be putting in there today. Now, speaking of the target marketing spend as a percentage of revenue. Okay, so if you're questioning what percentage of your revenue target can actually be rationally allocated to marketing, a rule of thumb for supplements brands in the $1 to $5 million range. We're a little bit on the smaller side with the numbers we're putting in here, but you're going to be running between, I would say, 20 to 40%, depending on the growth stage that you're at and your gross margin. There's no universal right answer here. It really just depends on your own cost structure and how aggressively you're trying to scale. Let's talk about this target subscription attach rate, the percentage of new customers you want to convert into subscriptions. This is one of the highest leverage targets that you can set for your business. A 10 percentage point improvement in the attach rate changes the lifetime value economics of every customer that your acquisition budget brings in. Now, the second section here is the growth lever model section. And this is the step that most brands skip in their budgeting. It's the one that's really going to reveal whether your revenue target and your budget are truly aligned. So what we're going to do is add the numbers here to come up to 100% of our revenue target across these 6 levers. So we're starting with new customer acquisition from paid media, email and SMS to existing customers. We'll also look at subscription growth through attach rate and retention improvement. We'll also look at ways to improve the average order value through upsells and bundles potentially. We'll also look at organic and SEO traffic to the site and any influencer and affiliate deals that you have going on, as well as a section for any other growth levers that you have for your brand. The total in the bottom needs to be equal to 100%. Now, here's a few things to watch out for. If your paid acquisition is carrying more than 60 to 70% of your revenue target, that could be a concentration risk. It means that the business could be heavily dependent on paid channels performing at a specific level with no buffer if they don't. And if you've assigned 25% of your revenue target to subscription growth, but you haven't planned a specific attach rate improvement plan, a post-purchase sequence change, or an initiative to reduce churn, then that 25% that you put in here is just an optimistic number and really not a plan at all. Every lever you put in here needs a plan behind it and not just a percentage. So the work kind of goes beyond what we're looking at here. Do this part honestly. There's some discomfort in finding a mismatch here, but that discomfort is a lot less expensive than finding it 3 quarters down the road from now. Okay, the third section of this page is the profit health check. This is the gate before you commit any budget to anything. Most of this section is going to calculate automatically for you based on the numbers that we already put in. So you're going to see that your target cost per acquisition is filled in automatically. This is calculated from your implied marketing budget divided by your target new customers that we put in at the top here. Look at this number really carefully. Okay, so does it make sense? You have to ask yourself if it makes sense relative to your channel costs and conversion rates. If the implied target cost per acquisition is $30, which ours here is not, but your meta campaigns historically run at 65, then your target is probably too high for the budget. And so next we're going to add in our estimated customer lifetime value. You're going to put this in manually, pull it from your recharge app that is available to you in there, or if you've got a cohort analysis in your data that you're running, you can enter that number here. All right, you're going to be looking at a number over a 12-month period, most likely. In your case, you might also look at a 24-month period or 18. Don't use a category benchmark for what this number is. Use your own numbers, okay? Now it's going to auto-calculate for you your LTV to CAC ratio. That means customer lifetime value as a factor of the cost to acquire a new customer. Okay, the benchmark for most brands is 3-to-1 or higher. So the numbers I've got here are good. Take a look at your own. You're also going to be looking at the gross margin dollars per new customer. It shows you what the calculation here. So this is the margin that we're earning on each new customer. And lastly, we're going to see the cost per acquisition payback period in months. Now, this is an approximation. It's not perfect science. This is entered by taking your target cost per acquisition and then divided by the monthly gross margin contribution per customer. And it's the number of months to recover your acquisition cost. You're going to compare this number against your cash flow reality before you commit to anything. And when the profit health check holds up, tab 2 is completely done. You've got a really good defensible budget anchored in real inputs from your business. Okay, switching over to the channel budget planner here. What we're going to do is fill in the annual budget that we're going to allocate to each of these different channels. And then it's going to auto calculate for you the percentage of your total advertising budget that we filled in on the growth goals tab already. So that's this implied marketing budget here. We're trying to get to 100% of that. And then we're going to add the total new customers column after. Again, that comes from the growth goals tab. So you're going to refer back to the target new customers that we input on that tab. Okay. If you take this spreadsheet and you make a copy of it, you could potentially flip the formulas so that you're putting in the percentage of your total budget to allocate at each channel, and it'll calculate the dollar figure for you. In my case, as I go through it, I'm going to put in the budget dollar figures and it's going to calculate the percentage for me. So I'm at 99.3, pretty close. I'm going to do my target new customers from each channel. Under the notes column, you can use this for what you want. But what we could put in here is the expected ROAS from each channel or any other notes about what we want to achieve on each of the channels that we set out here. Okay, so the second half of tab 3 is the monthly budget pacing table. So all you're going to do here is for each channel, you're going to enter what your monthly spend allocation is going to be across all 12 months. It goes all the way through here. So the annual total column at the end, on the right reconciles back to your annual budget for that channel. This is where you're going to account for seasonality. So Q4, you're going to have your BFCM spend, probably slower in January, and then any other promotional windows that you have throughout the year that justify a higher investment. Tab 4 is the tab that separates what is actually happening in your business from what your blended reporting makes it look like. This is super important. The first section that we're going to look at is the monthly revenue split, and it's going to separate your monthly revenue into new customers versus returning. So you're going to put in the data for a given month, probably the most recent complete month that you have data for. For your new customers, you're going to just put in the average order value for new customers specifically, as an average over the last 12 months is what I'm going to recommend here. So for us, here's what we're going to put in versus the returning customers' average order value, which in most cases is going to be higher. That's going to also bring in numbers that are auto-calculated for you from the data that we put in on past tabs. So what we're going to see here is a split for new customers versus returning in terms of the number of orders as a monthly average. This is pulled from the brand snapshot tab, the first tab that we filled in. And it's going to use the percentage to give you an idea on a monthly basis here. And then it's also going to show you the total revenue that you're earning on a monthly basis from new customers specifically versus returning customers specifically, and the blended numbers as well. Now, in the next section, we can see the ad spend and ROAS section here. So what we're going to fill in is just these two orange tabs. The first one at the top is the ad spend that you're allocating specifically to acquisition. For the most part, when brands are trying to grow and scale, your acquisition spend needs to be a minimum of 70% of your advertising spend, and dedicate that to pure acquisition. I've got lots of videos about that, so take a look at those in the channel. So what I'm going to put in here is the numbers from my sample data. And then I'm also going to do the same for the retargeting spend on a monthly basis. Now you can see it auto-calculated for us a few numbers that we need to see. What is our return on ad spend for acquiring a new customer? If this number is below 1, you're losing money on each new customer acquired. Now, keep in mind in supplements that is extremely common, and generally speaking, in a lot of cases, you're not going to be profitable on that new customer. Instead, your profits are coming from the repeat purchases that those new customers turn into as their lifetime value with your brand grows, right? Now, you're also going to see your returning customer ROAS, which should be quite a lot higher. And then the blended ROAS number here. It's also going to calculate for you the cost to acquire a new customer based on the inputs that we put here. This is your true new customer cost per acquisition, and your profit on new ad spend here. Something to think about here is if your return on ad spend on a blended basis is 3 or more, okay, and you've got a gross margin of 40%, this is just as a sample, then your profit on ad spend is going to be below 1, which means you're not quite breaking even on that channel. So this is a factor of your gross margin. You can see it in the calculation here. The lower half of tab 4 here is the CLTV model. This is where the subscriber versus one-time buyer economics become visible to you as really specific numbers. So for the subscriber column, you're going to enter your average order value for subscribers versus one-time buyers. Now, generally speaking, your subscriber average order value is higher than your one-time buyer one. So here's our numbers from our data, as well as your gross margin percentage for each. If you don't have this specifically, you can create a formula to calculate it. Generally speaking, again, your percentage on subscribers is going to be higher than it is for one-time buyers. Now, we're also going to look at the average order that a subscriber places over the course of a year versus one-time buyers. Of course, for one-time buyers, that number is 1. And for subscribers, you're going to put in your figures. Mine is going to be 5. And then our year 2 is going to be what they place, how many orders in place in year 2. And then for year 3 as well. So these can be an average. Keep your one-time buyer numbers 0 for 2 and 3. This is going to calculate for you what is your gross margin dollars per order from a subscriber versus a one-time buyer. Now, why do we care about that? Okay. The reason is this is a visual representation for you to really understand the value of a subscriber versus a one-time buyer, because in supplements, it is crucial to increase the customer lifetime value specifically of subscribers, because that's the easiest place to do it. And if once you see these numbers, you're going to really understand those economics and the value of making those improvements. Now, your 2-year customer lifetime value is a figure you can generally find in your Recharge app or your subscription platform. You're only going to fill in the number for the subscriber, because your one-time buyer is going to auto calculate for you. It's just the same number as your average order value, right? Because it's one purchase, one and done. Over 2 years, you're going to fill that in from your subscribe app or your Recharge app to have the correct number. Now, what you're going to see is the extreme gap, in our case at least, the extreme gap between the LTV to CAC ratio for a subscriber versus a one-time buyer. Way higher on the subscriber side, as well as your CAC payback period in months. In this case, we only need 3.6 months to get back our cost per acquisition of a new customer when they become a subscriber versus for a one-time buyer. These numbers are the economic grounding for every channel allocation decision that we're going to make, or that we did make in tab 3, because a channel that's producing one-time buyers at a $55 cost per acquisition is really just not the same business as a channel that's producing subscribers at a $55 cost per acquisition. Same figure, but the subscriber element is what makes all the difference. And this one here, tab 4, is what makes that math visible. Tab 5 here is where the subscription health of your business gets its own dedicated attention. You can see that it auto-populates a lot of figures for you to see from the brand snapshot tab, or you can add specific data from last month here if you want to replace those formulas. Okay, so we're just going to add a few figures here. We'll add in our new subscribers added from the past month, again, available from your Recharge app dashboard or whatever it is that you are using, as well as any subscribers that were lost in the past month. So the number here, and our average subscription average order value, which we've looked at before. And then we're going to also add in what is our revenue recovery rate or win back rate. Usually you're going to find this from your Klaviyo dashboard or whatever you're using as your email marketing platform. Now, in the last section, you can add your subscription growth targets for your year. You'll add your target attach rate and the growth rate that you want to see, as well as the passive churn rate. Make sure that that's after any kind of win back flow deploys, as well as any active churn rate that you've got. You can use what you have as a benchmark, or scale that down a few points based on any program that you're going to put into place to reduce active churn. You can put in your target monthly recurring revenue at the end of the year from your subscription program and what you want that to be, as well as any implied subscriber count at your target monthly revenue rate. The MRR Growth Model tab is the one that I love the most, and I think hits hardest with supplements brands owners when you fill this in, okay? This is going to make the compounding impact of subscription decisions visible for you in real time. So you're just only going to put in 2 inputs at the top. What it's going to do is pull in your starting active subscribers from, I believe that's from the brand snapshot tab, and it's already pulling in your gross margin, your churn rate for active and passive churn, as well as the win back recovery rate, which we just filled in the subscription health tab. All you're going to do is add your subscription average order value again here, and the number of new subscribers that you added per month on average or in last month's numbers. Now you can see that that populated this 12-month projection tab down below. Okay, here's what you're going to see. You've got active subscribers at the start of each month, and it's going to show you how many were added per month using the number that we just plugged in. Active churn, how many customers were lost, as well as from passive churn, and the win back recoveries based on the percentage that we put here. And what this does is project for you the full year outcome if nothing were to change. All right. So what we can see if we scroll over is that we started from 453 subscribers, and with all of the factors plugged in here, we can see that at December, we're going to be at 863 subscribers if everything stays the same here. Now, maybe the best thing to look at, the best call or row to look at, is the monthly recurring revenue from subscribers and how that projects upward based on your subscriber health, right? We can see that this number is increasing from subscribers alone month over month because of our subscriber economics that we've got here. You can also see the net new MRR versus the prior month because of those economics that we've got here and how that's going to fluctuate, as well as your gross margin from subscriptions in hard dollars coming into your business throughout the course of the year, and then the cumulative growth in recurring monthly revenue versus month one as a percentage. I love this spreadsheet for this tab alone. This is going to change your view of your subscription program in a heartbeat. I guarantee it. Okay, now here's what I think is most important about where or how this model earns its place in your budgeting. If you were to change one assumption here, you get to watch what happens, right? You can, if you change these numbers up here, you get to see the impact that's going to have. If your passive churn rate dropped from ours at 0.7% down to 0.5%, how is that going to change your view of the year to come? And you'll be able to see the impact on your MRR. Let's see how that plays out here. This is pulling in data, but what we can do is change this to see the impact on the numbers. So let's take a look. Okay, so if we reduced our monthly passive churn down to 0.5 versus 0.7, we can see the impact that that's going to have on our MRR. If we changed our active churn rate, right, this is where we really have an impact on our monthly recurring revenue from subscribers. Let's say we put a plan into place for this year where we're going to grow our subscriber base, yes, but more importantly, we're going to focus on reducing active churn, people who are actively canceling their subscription program. Ours right now is at 11%. Let's say we were to bring that down by 2 percentage points to 9%. What impact is that having on our numbers? We can see it in the model down here in terms of the impact on our monthly recurring revenue. The point here is that this is not an academic exercise. It's truly a budget allocation signal that should impact the decisions that you make as you build out your budget for the year. So the scenario where your active churn reduction produces more monthly recurring revenue improvement than maybe a 20% increase in new subscriber acquisition is a very direct instruction to you about where you should be making your investment next, because you can plan it out and project it in front of you here. The scenario comparison table at the bottom of the page here really formalizes everything that we've seen here. It's going to automatically for you pull in your projected December monthly recurring revenue under 4 scenarios. Okay, so the first one is at your baseline where you're at right now. If you were to reduce your passive churn by 50%, how does that impact your December monthly recurring revenue and the annual recurring revenue? And what is the difference from your baseline on a monthly basis and an annual basis? Separately, if you were to improve your subscription attach rate by 10 points, what does that look like in terms of your monthly revenue at December as well as annually? and then the difference versus your baseline on a monthly and annual basis. And if we were to combine the two, both the passive churn reduction and the improvement in the subscription attach rate, how does that play out from a monthly recurring revenue standpoint and annually? And then the two figures versus your current baseline. For most supplements brands that are doing between $1 and $5 million, that difference in that annual recurring revenue from your baseline runs in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, as you can see here. That's not a retention story, but that is actually a budget prioritization decision that this document helps you make that you wouldn't have in front of you otherwise. And the last tab is tab 7, which is the quarterly review channel, which is called the Fix Hold Scale tab. You're going to want to run this every 3 months, so on a quarterly basis. Don't do this annually. It's not often enough. Your channel dynamics in supplements shift way faster than once a year review can catch for you. So what you're going to do here is for each active channel, you're going to score it across 4 different criteria based on the numbers that you've already filled in from the exercise that we've done here. You're going to use a 1 to 5 for each using your best judgment, and it's going to look at your new customer ROAS score, not blended ROAS, only new customers, because we are trying to grow and scale here. Remember that a channel that looks strong on blended ROAS but weak on new customer ROAS is going to score low for you here. Okay, keep that in mind. So your cost per acquisition versus your benchmark. How does this channel's actual cost to acquire a new customer compare against the target cost that you set back in tab 2, which is the growth goals tab? If it's running above your target, it's going to get a lower score. And if it's running at or below, a higher score, okay? Then your subscription attach rate contribution. Okay, so what percentage of customers acquired through this channel are converting into subscribers? So something to think about here is that a channel that's driving a 35% attach rate is going to score much higher. That's pretty good. Much higher than one that's driving maybe 8% or 7%, even if they have the same cost per acquisition. And then lastly, your gross margin contribution. Is this channel driving high margin SKUs or lower margin ones for you? So a channel that's disproportionately driving lower margin products is going to have to score lower for you on this criteria, even if its ROAS looks fine. So you're going to score and decide. So the total score and decision will calculate automatically. Here's how that looks. Let's go with, and then we'll make this one a 5. We'll pull in the subscription attach rate here and our gross margin contribution. Okay, so it's going to automatically tell us what kind of decision we should make. This one at 15 gives us a whole decision and kind of gives you a picture of how this is going to look. Basically, anything 16 or above as a total score is going to tell you to scale. This channel is earning more budget allocation, so you can go back if you want into your channel budget planner and allocate more budget to the channels that you want to scale based on this decision maker for you. If it's in the 10 to 15 range, that's where you're going to see a hold decision. You're going to want to maintain your current spend or resource allocation for that channel. And if we see a 10 or lower, a 9 or lower, that is a fix. So you've got an identifiable structural problem with that channel. You're going to need to make sweeping changes to remedy the issues on those channels in order to improve performance. And just below there is the action planning tab, which is kind of like a scoring matrix, let's say, where you're going to document your decisions. Each channel is going to get a decision, your primary issue or opportunity there, the next action, who is the owner of that decision, and the due date. Now, this due date column matters more than it looks like it does, because a fix or hold decision without a due date is a decision that nobody's going to revisit. So I want you to set the date here, put it in your calendar or your project managing tool. Definitely come back to it. Do not leave this alone. A hold does not necessarily mean you should leave it alone, okay? Okay, so that's pretty much it. We went through all 7 tabs. I hope that's really clear for you around not just what you're going to input, but also where to find that information. Now, here's what I want you to do. Now, tab number 1, brand snapshot. You're going to update that monthly, okay? Tab 2 is the growth goals tab. I want you to take a look at that just once a year and probably mid-year as well, as you need to update your goals. Now, tabs 5, 6, and 7 should get reviewed monthly. If not monthly, then quarterly should be okay as well. As you're going through this, if you have any questions about any specific tab or specific input, drop it here in the comments or reach out to us on our website, legendarydigital.ca. I'd be very happy to help you with it. And I read every one of our emails and comments that you drop here. So any questions that you have, drop them, and they might even become the theme for a future video. Make sure that you subscribe to the Active Ingredient, because I'm always producing content here that is specifically designed to help supplements brands like yours grow and scale profitably with free tools that I'm making just for you to make your business better. See you in the next video.